All right, guys and gals, here we go. This is our last video on the midterm review problems, so hopefully we can get this rolling here and you don't have to watch me talk anymore. So let's go and do this. This is a 2-prop Z confidence interval. One thing I'm going to let you know is that on the test for the 2-prop Z confidence interval, I'm not actually, and the hypothesis test, is I'm not going to have you do the whole mechanics for the whole hypothesis test because that just takes a long time. There's a lot of steps to it, and we just won't have enough time on the exam for that. So what I'm going to have you do instead is create the confidence interval and then use your confidence interval to conduct the hypothesis test. So I'll show you how to do that, and there we go. So we've got 88 men and 100. Well, we got 88 out of 150 men that say they exercise regularly. So 88 is going to be XM. 150 is NM. That's the total number of women. This is the total number of. Sorry, that's the total number of men. This is the total number of women. And 130 of them said that they exercise regularly. So first, I'm going to have to find P hat M. Now, P hat M is the proportion of men that said they exercise regularly. So that's 88 out of 150. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and calculate that. And I get 0.587. 0.587. And then the proportion of women who say they exercise regularly is 130 out of 200, which is 0.65. Then I'm going to find my confidence interval. So the confidence interval for a 2-prop, it looks like this. PM hat minus PW hat, or P1 minus P2 hat, times Z star times the square root P1 hat Q1 hat over N1 plus P2 hat Q2 hat over N2. Now, we know this is 95% confidence, so the Z star is 1.96. So go ahead and plug everything in. We got 0.587 minus 0.65 plus or minus 1.96 times the square root of 0.587 times 1 minus 0.587, which is 0.413 over 150 plus 0.65 times 0.35 over 200. All right, and then we're going to plug all that stuff in our calculator, and we're going to go to confidence interval, which is going to be negative 0.166 and positive 0.04. All right, so now we need to do this in context. We need to interpret our confidence interval. We can't just leave it like that. So we're going to say we are, and I'm going to just move this up a little bit so I can write this out. A little easier for me to write, and I know you guys are like looking up my nose as I write this. We are 95% confident that the proportion of men, now we're starting with men, we say men because that's who we started with here, of men who exercise regularly. Let's get rid of that little Facebook notification here. Can I? Nope. All right, you guys just have to know that my friends. The funny thing is about that Facebook notification, we're talking about statistics. We are 95% confident the proportion of men who exercise regularly is between 16.6% lower because it's negative, and 4% higher because it's positive than the proportion of women who exercise regularly. Okay. So that would be our interpretation. Now make sure you have it's lower for negative, higher for positive. And sometimes it can be in between there. So you're going to need to make sure you understand that that's what you have to write down. So Now we're going to say, it says, based on the confidence interval, is this enough evidence to suggest that women exercise more regularly than men? So the first thing, I do want you to write down your hypothesis. So the null hypothesis is that P of men is equal to P of women. And the alternative hypothesis is that the proportion of males is less than the proportion of women who exercise regularly. So now that we have that down, you don't have to, I'm not going to have you write the conditions for inference. We're going to go and say that they've been met, and they have been met. The question is, based on our confidence interval that we got from the top here, can we say that the proportion of males is less than the proportion of females? Well, the conclusion to this, all right, the conclusion is no, that we cannot, right? And the reason for that is because if PM minus PW was true, then that would mean that PM minus PW, the difference between the two, could be 0. Notice here that we say that the proportion of men who exercise regularly could be less than, but it could also be as big as 4%, greater than the proportion of women. So we're going to have to say, no, we can't, there isn't enough evidence. So our conclusion here, based on our confidence interval, is that there is not enough evidence that the proportion of men that exercise regularly is less than women, since 0 is in our 95% confidence interval. Okay? The proportions could be equal. Basically, we fail to reject the null. All right? So if 0 is in the confidence interval in this case, then we're going to fail to reject the null. It's possible that the proportions are equal, right? So, and in fact, it's possible that the men are even higher than that. So what I'm going to have you do for this one, and this is really important, is that you need to make sure that you write the hypothesis and then you state the conclusion based on the interval. Don't do the entire hypothesis test out, because if you do the entire hypothesis test out, sure, you'll get some points for that, but you're not going to get all the points because I'm asking you to base it on the interval, okay? And this is going to be very important later on for something that we do in the next week. So as we get closer to the final exam, okay? All right, guys. We will, hopefully that's good enough. Make sure you watch all these videos. If you're just ending out, then great. I'm glad you did. Enjoy your time reviewing, and we'll see you soon.